In the Great Plains region, there are several natural hazards that have the power to affect human lives, such as fire, tornadoes, and thunderstorms. All of these hazards are ones that you hear about the most. However, out of all these hazards, there is one that can be the most deadly: flooding. Flooding occurs when a normally dry area becomes inundated by rising water in an existing waterway, such as a river, stream, or drainage ditch. Flooding can cause extensive damage, destroying land, carrying away soil, and in the case of the Rapid City flood of 1972, take away lives and homes.
It's like somebody turned the faucet on and it just started pouring.
Almost 40 years later, time has not diminished the memories the Masters have of the night that changed their lives forever. Theirs is a story of survival, a story of a family torn apart by tragedy, but most importantly, a story of the power faith has in times of unthinkable loss. As the water level rose out of Rapid Creek and into their home along Jackson Boulevard on June 9, 1972, they knew for the safety of their young family, it was time to leave.
Here we are standing trying to decide what to do, and we heard water coming in the lower level, and it had already pushed out the windows. We went down to look, and it was just filling the lower level.
Basement area,
yes.
The lower level very quickly.
With their 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls still in pajamas, they trudged through ankle-deep water in the pitch-black night to reach the family vehicle.
We backed out just a few feet, turned there, and turned right onto Jackson Boulevard.
Onto the bridge.
And onto the bridge. Unbeknown to us, the dam had burst, and the first wall of water caught us. All we needed was 3 or 4 more seconds, and we'd have been ahead of that first wall of water.
On June 6th, extreme rainfall began to fall in the Black Hills area. There are 15 inches of rainfall that led to what is now known as one of the most fatal floods in U.S. history. Air with high levels of moisture moved upslope over the Black Hills, causing the storm to remain stationary. The runoff from the stream produced floods on multiple streams, including Spring Rapid, Box Elder Creeks, and around Battle. The most detrimental characteristic of the storm was the fact that the heaviest rainfall was just downstream from Pactola Dam. Early floodwaters carried large amounts of waste that blocked the dam at Canyon Lake, causing it to fail at around 10 p.m. Peak flow of around 55,000 cubic feet per second traveled through Rapid City at around midnight on the 9th. The floods rose over 13 feet in 4 to 5 hours and were powerful but not long-lived.
We had this very young mayor who presided over, I guess clearly the most awful, horrific night in the history of South Dakota. 238 people killed, millions and millions of dollars of property damage, the heart of the city just gutted, and I can't imagine what it was like. But Don today lives in Colorado, but he's a South Dakotan at heart. He's been a longtime reader of South Dakota Magazine. And Don, thanks for joining us.
It rained about 6 o'clock and about 6:30 up by Pactola Reservoir. There's 17 miles of creek between Pactola and the city limits of Rapid City, and consequently it started to rain and there weren't any winds, and those clouds were just gigantic, Bernie. And all of a sudden they began to just drip dry, and consequently we had one of the worst flooding disasters in the history of America. And holy mackerel, we went around on the highway and we looked at Canyon Lake, and it was just filling up with debris and car bodies. And I immediately went to the nightclub there, the old Canyon Lake Club, and I used the telephone and I put out the warning. And we tried to have as much warning as possible, but within an hour or so, the radio stations and the TV stations lost their power, and the water got much, much higher. And then about 11:30 or so, Canyon Lake, the dam broke, and there was a great surge of water. But then about 3 or 4 in the morning, the highest waters came roaring through the city and destroyed about 2,000 housing units, totally destroyed about 1,500. And we had casualties among the fire department and the police department and the public works employees.
The immediate effects that followed the Rapid City flood were devastating. Extremely heavy rains over the eastern Black Hills of South Dakota produced record-breaking floods on Rapid Creek as well as other streams. According to the Red Cross, the resulting floods left 238 people dead and 3,057 people injured. In addition to the human tragedy, total damage was estimated in excess of $160 million, which included 1,335 homes and 5,000 automobiles that were destroyed. The weather conditions that caused this tragedy were highly unusual. The physical events that occurred produced nearly 15 inches of rain in 6 hours at one location, and more than 10 inches of rain over some 60 square miles, and the resulting extreme flood. The heavy rainfall that occurred over a shorter period of time also caused the nearby Pactola Dam to fail. However, the effect that this dam failure had on flood wave was hard to assess. This is because a lot of the rivers and tributaries nearby overshadowed the water that was being contained in the Pactola Dam. Following the Rapid City flood, the town decided to implement some positive changes. One of these included a floodplain management program. This program was known as the Greenway concept, whereby most of the floodplain was converted into large parks.